Some stories are best left untold. They linger in the shadows, waiting for the curious and the brave to uncover them. Some secrets are meant to stay buried, hidden from the light of day, for they hold a power that can consume the unwary. This is one of those stories. Turn back now, while you still can. The path ahead is fraught with peril and darkness. What follows is not for the faint of heart. Consider yourself warned. The shadows within Blackwood Manor are alive, whispering secrets of the past. If you dare to continue, know this. Blackwood Manor's darkness is all-consuming. It feeds on fear and despair, growing stronger with each passing moment. It seeps into your mind, leaving you chilled to the bone. The coldness is not just physical. It reaches into your very soul. You might think you're safe, reading this in broad daylight. The warmth of the sun may give you a false sense of security, but the darkness knows no boundaries. It's already too late for you. The shadows have found you, and they will not let go. The old house loomed against the bruised sky. Blackwood Manor, a name whispered in fear, a place avoided by all. Its windows were vacant eyes staring out at the world. Twisted trees clawed at its crumbling facade, eager to reclaim their territory. The iron gates groaned open as if in pain, a warning. But Michael, fueled by youthful arrogance and a dare, ignored it. He pushed past the gates, his heart pounding a primal rhythm against his ribs. He had told his friends he wasn't scared. A lie. He was terrified. But to turn back now would be unthinkable. His breath caught in his throat as he pushed open the heavy oak door. The air inside was stagnant, thick with the smell of decay and dust. A floorboard creaked beneath his foot. The sound echoed in the silence. He took a hesitant step forward, and then another, deeper into the heart of the beast. Section 4. Whispers in the darkness. The night was still, the air thick with an unsettling silence. The old manor stood like a sentinel, its windows dark and foreboding. A cold draught swirled around him, raising goosebumps on his arms. The chill seemed to seep into his very bones, making him shiver uncontrollably. He spun around, searching for the source. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing in the oppressive silence. His flashlight beam danced across the dusty furniture, revealing nothing but shadows. Then he heard it. A sound so faint it was almost imperceptible. A whisper, faint and indistinct. It was like a breath against his ear, sending a shiver down his spine. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The walls themselves seemed to be whispering secrets, ancient and forgotten. He froze, his blood turning to ice. Fear gripped him, paralyzing his every move. The whispering grew louder, swirling around him like a malevolent wind. It was as if the very air was alive with voices, each one more sinister than the last. He could almost make out words now, but that they were distorted, unintelligible. They seemed to twist and warp in the air, making his head spin. Terror tightened its grip on his chest. He could barely breathe. His lungs felt like they were being squeezed by an invisible hand. He had to get out, now. Panic surged through him, propelling him forward. He stumbled through the darkness, desperate to escape the whispers that seemed to follow him. Section 5. The face in the mirror. It was a night like no other. The air thick with an eerie silence that seemed to seep into the very walls of the old mansion. He ran, stumbling through the darkness, desperate to escape the whispers that followed him. Each step echoed loudly, a stark contrast to the hushed murmurs that seemed to come from the shadows themselves. He burst into a room at the end of the hall, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The room was cold, the air heavy with a sense of foreboding. A large ornate mirror hung on the far wall, its surface covered in a thin layer of dust. It seemed to beckon him, drawing him closer despite the fear that gripped his heart. And in its reflection he saw it, a figure that shouldn't have been there, standing just behind him. A face, pale and gaunt, with eyes that burned like hot coals. It was a visage of pure terror, one that seemed to pierce through his very soul. A skeletal hand reached out from the mirror, its long, bony fingers scraping against the glass. The sound was like nails on a chalkboard, sending shivers down his spine. Michael screamed, a raw, primal sound that tore from his throat. It was a scream of pure, unadulterated fear, one that echoed through the empty halls of the mansion. He didn't dare turn around. The fear was paralyzing, rooting him to the spot as his mind raced with thoughts of what might happen next. He knew what awaited him. The terror of the unknown was almost too much to bear, but he couldn't bring himself to move. The face in the mirror was his own. It was a twisted reflection, a haunting reminder of the darkness that lurked within.